I just encourage everyone to study an interesting concept that we didn't have time to get into, but the concept of the law of Christ. The law of Christ, because I see a lot of the straightway folks saying, well, God, you got to keep God's law because Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Often I never hear them talk about the law of Christ. It's an important thing that's brought up in 1 Corinthians 9:21, where Paul says he's under the law of Christ. And then, of course, in Galatians 6, chapter 2, where he says, when you bear one another's burdens, you fulfill the law of Christ. And then you have James, who speaks about the royal law. And that's in James 2, 8 through 13. And the indication seems to be there that it's dealing with Jesus's greatest commands, right? Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. And that is the emphasis. And that's what everything in the Old Testament hangs upon. And so that's what we're supposed to do. But all the regulations and requirements that folks are trying to put upon us, that is not what it's all about. Romans 10:4, for Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. Galatians 3:23-25. But now before faith came, we were held captive under the law, imprisoned until coming faith would be revealed. So then the law was our guardian until Christ came, in order that we might be justified by faith. But now that faith has come, we are no longer under that guardian. That's very important. We're no longer under a guardian anymore, everybody. Things are different under the new covenant. Ephesians 2:15, by abolishing the law of commandments expressed in ordinances, that he might create in himself one new man in place of the two, so making peace. There's another of other important verses. Now, we're not antinomians. This doesn't mean that we can just go out and do whatever. It doesn't matter. That's never what Christians are saying, unless they're antinomians, and that's a heresy that we've already declared to be a heresy, because it is. And so that's not what we're saying. But I want people to really look at that before someone tries to get you and trap you, basically by living as if Jesus had never come. Because Paul says, well, if that's the case, then why did Christ need to die on the cross for our sins? It's like Galatians is there, everybody. So study that concept, law of Christ. And what does that mean for a new covenant believer?